Okay, so have you ever, like, really thought about how much time we spend just scrolling on our phones? It's kind of crazy when you actually stop and think about it.
Yeah, it's like this weird habit we all have. And the numbers are pretty wild, actually, especially with Gen Z. They're spending, get this, like over 6 hours a day on screens.
6 hours? Seriously?
Yeah, it's more than twice what baby boomers are spending.
Wow, that's like a whole other part-time job or something. It's funny you mention that because it reminds me of this source we're doing a deep dive into today.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, they talk about how all that screen time, even though it could be fun and everything, might be messing with our ability to actually, like, focus on things.
Totally. It's like our brains are being trained to expect constant stimulation and novelty, and anything that requires sustained attention just feels like boring in comparison, you know?
100%. And what's interesting is how the source connects it to this bigger idea that our shrinking attention spans, they aren't just about getting bored easily. It's like they could actually be impacting how we learn, how we work, even just how we connect with each other, like
Yeah.
on a fundamental level.
Right. It's like we're trading depth for like these little hits of dopamine. And in the long run, that might not be so great for us. The source actually compares the modern attention span to a hummingbird, just constantly flitting from one thing to the next.
It's so true. I'm definitely guilty of that. Like, I can't even sit down with a good book anymore without, like, feeling this urge to check my phone every 5 seconds. It's like my brain is telling me, ooh, shiny object.
And that's the thing. Our devices are designed to be addictive. It's not entirely our fault. But the source makes this super interesting point that reclaiming our attention spans is so key. It's not just about like being more productive at work or whatever. It's actually crucial for our well-being.
For sure. So how do they actually break free from this whole cycle of distraction? They mentioned being a big reader, right?
They did, but here's the kicker. They weren't always some like digital monk or anything. They actually admitted to really struggling with being on their phone too much, even though they love to read.
Wow, that's kind of reassuring to hear, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, like even someone who loves reading can struggle with this whole phone thing, you know? It's like,
Yeah.
okay, maybe it's not just me then. But what did they do about it?
Yeah.
Did they, like, go cold turkey?
Yeah.
Ditch their phone entirely?
Well, not exactly. They started with something pretty simple, actually. They just decided, okay, I'm going to set a daily limit for myself on how long I'm on my phone.
Okay, how long are we talking?
90 minutes.
90 minutes? Whoa. That's like, what, 2 episodes of my favorite show? I don't know if I could do it.
Right. It does seem pretty radical these days. But the source talked about how setting that firm boundary, it really forced them to be more mindful about how they were using their phone. Like,
Yeah.
is this something I actually want to be looking at? Or am I just scrolling out of habit?
So instead of just getting sucked into that vortex of, like, endless scrolling, they were actually choosing to spend time on things they cared about.
Exactly.
And a good chunk of that time, no surprise here, went towards reading. They said those 90 minutes, they hit different after they made the change. It wasn't just about zoning out or whatever. It was like they were really engaging with the ideas and the stories and the information in a deeper way.
Right, because you can actually focus. I get that. But let's be real. Even when we know it's good for us,
Mm.
breaking away from our phones is hard.
Right.
Did they have any other, like, ninja warrior techniques for resisting the urge to scroll?
Okay, so this is where it gets interesting. They said they started using a physical lockbox for their phone.
Wait, a lockbox? Like for keeping jewelry and stuff? Yep, exactly that. Sounds kind of intense, I know. But they said that actually creating that physical barrier between them and their phone, it was crazy effective.
It's like out of sight, out of mind, right? I gotta admit, I'm intrigued. Did they say if that helped them be more present in, like, their actual life?
They totally did. They said they noticed a huge difference in how well they could focus. And not just when they were reading, like in conversations, even doing everyday tasks. They weren't getting yanked away by every little notification anymore.
Okay, that's pretty impressive. Shows how powerful these small changes can be. But let's talk about the reading itself for a sec. Did they mention any tips for, like, making reading more engaging? Especially for someone who's used to that fast-paced, instant gratification world of scrolling all the time.
Yeah, they had this one trick they found super helpful, and it was to switch up the genres they were reading pretty regularly. They felt like it helped them avoid getting bored and kept things feeling fresh.
That's really interesting. It's like, yeah, have you ever heard a chef talk about trying different ingredients
Yeah.
to keep their, like, taste buds interested?
Totally.
Maybe it's kind of the same with reading. If you're always reading, like, same type of stuff, it's easy to get in a rut.
Yeah.
But if you're willing to try new genres, it's like you're opening yourself up to a whole world of different perspectives and ideas.
Exactly. And that's actually something the source found really powerful. They noticed that branching out in their reading, it kind of spilled over into other parts of their life too. Like they were more willing to try new things in general, whether it was a new food or a new activity or whatever.
That's so cool. So it's like reading became this, like, catalyst for living a more engaged and, like, fulfilling life overall.
It's true.
But beyond just the, like, personal benefits,
Yeah.
did they talk about any impact on their relationships with other people?
Oh, absolutely. They actually noticed a big difference in the quality of their conversations.
Really?
They said they were way more present and less distracted by their phone.
Yeah.
So they were able to really listen and engage with the people around them on a deeper level.
It makes you think about how much we probably miss when we're constantly checking our phones,
That's
right?
right.
Like all those little moments of connection, the shared jokes, the really interesting conversations, they're so much richer when we're actually present for them.
100%. And the source also found that this increased presence, it even changed how they experienced, like, just the world around them.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they were more mindful, more likely to appreciate the beauty in everyday things.
Like they were seeing everything with new eyes.
Mhm.
It really makes you think about, like, what are we giving up when we spend hours every day glued to our screens?
It's a good question. And I think what the source ultimately realized is that technology, it's a tool, right?
Yeah.
And like any tool, it can be used for good or bad. It's up to us to decide how we're going to use it and to make sure we're creating space for the things that truly matter, like connecting with others and engaging with the world around us.
It's been such a fascinating deep dive, don't you think? I know I'm definitely walking away with a lot to think about in terms of my own relationship with technology.
J2.
It's so easy to just get caught up in the cycle of scrolling and checking and refreshing.
Yeah,
But like you said, even small changes can make a big difference.
totally.
So maybe today's the day to put down the phone, pick up a book, and see where the story takes you.
I like